the case report. A 9-year-old Muslim boy brought by parents with complaining of 2 days old injury to the left elbow and complaining of pain and swelling of the left upper limb, mainly the elbow and forearm region, and not able to move his left upper limb properly, and complaining of numbness of the left upper limb. The also state that they initially treated in local hospital and take X-ray was taken, and the X-ray looks normal only. They put above elbow slab, and no history of previous surgery, no medical comorbidities and bleeding disorders, no significant family histories. And general examination, and patient was afebrile and pulse rate was 126, other parameters are normal only. So, and local examination, the inspection, the attitude was elbow is flexed and arm is erected, and the diffuse swelling more over the elbow region and the forearm and the hand region. There is a overlying skin was shiny, stretched, tense and edematous. There is no clubs and scars. And palpation, the upper limb was cold, mainly the forearm and the hand region. The tenderness around the elbow is present, no abnormal mobility characters, no bony thickening irregularities. And range of movement, the elbow flex, the elbow, wrist and fingers, no active flexion and extension is possible. Stretchment of the fingers was present. So neurovascular examination, the radial pulse was not palpable, so capillary refilling is present. Numbness and reduced sensation over the left forearm and hand was present. And this was the X-ray that day, and the X-ray looks normal only, no other bony injuries. So immediately we took blood investigation, and the HP was 8.4 and blood group was B positive, and the PTCT was normal and total count was normal. So we immediately diagnosed as a post-traumatic acute compartment syndrome of the left upper limb. So we planned the emergency fasciotomy the day itself, and later that the incision we planned was lacy S incision in the volar aspect to release the arm, forearm and the carpal tunnel also planned. And in the arm there is a brachialis muscle was confused. And the superficial compartment of the forearm muscles found to be healthy only. And a deep compartment, that FTP, in FTP, the origin from the incision, there is a large intramuscular hematoma with ischemic non-contractile FTP was formed. That was partially debrided and the evacuation of the hematoma was done. And the carpal tunnel was released. And then median nerve found to be healthy, and finally the radial pulse was felt, and stay sutures was applied on the day. And 2 days later, again we posted for debridement. On the day that the entire muscles of the FDP and FDS was devitalized. So the devitalized muscles were excised, and median nerve and radial artery and ulnar vertex recorded was done by plastic surgeon. And the 18th, 1 week later, we planned again for wound debridement and abdominal flap and SRG. And this is the final follow-up clinical pictures. And finally, that flexion deformity 30 degree present, and 30 to 90 degree is possible flexion. And what are the problems we faced is mainly the post-operative is a constant oozing from the wound site and fall in the HP. So the two problems we faced. And this is a complete hemoglobin chart and the blood transfuse chart. And immediate post-operatively, the HP was 6.2. We continuously transfused whole blood, TCV and FOB continuously. We suspecting continuous fall in the HP, so we suspecting some platelet disorders because the PTCT was previously normal. So we ordered for factor 8 and 9 measurement and everything. 1 week later, the report came as a factor 8 deficiency. So after 13, we started cryoprecipitate. And finally, we transfused to 5 whole blood and 10 TCV and 7 FOB and 5 cryoprecipitate. And 14th day, patient had aspiration pneumonia of the right side of the lung, mostly due to the transfusion induced. They were treated by a pulmonologist conservatively. And 30th lab report is again as a factor 8 assay was 11% only. The normal was 50 to 150%, and came as a deficiency of factor 8, and the APTT was slightly increased. And finally, we got the hematologist opinion. The hematologist diagnosed as hemophilia A factor 8 deficiency. And sir advised this observation and transfused to FOB and with antibiotics. So coming to the discussion part, the bleeding disorders have been recognized since ancient time, And second century, Tolman stated that the male babies do not have to be circumcised if the two brothers have died from the procedure. And 12th century, from the Arabian physician wrote about the family males died of excessive bleeding from the minor injuries. And 1803, John Otto wrote that an inherited hemorrhagic deposition affecting the males. And 1928, the University of Zurich hemophilia was first described. This is a royal disease. Queen Victoria from 1837 to 90 is a caused hemophilia to the German, Spanish, and the Russian population. Her son Leopold died because of a continuous hemorrhage, brain hemorrhage, and grandson also died because of the hemophilia. This is a royal disease. And this is a coagulation escape. This is the intrinsic and the extrinsic pathways. And the extrinsic pathway mainly started from the tissue injuries and started factor 7. And it will increase the prothrombin time. And the intrinsic pathway will increase the APTT level mainly. And finally, the prothrombin is converted to thrombin and fibrinogen. The thrombin activates fibrinogen into fibrin. And finally, the fibrin clot will occur. Types of bleeding disorders mainly the von Willebrand disease, and factor 8 will produce hemophilia A, and factor 9 will produce hemophilia B, and other disorders, bleeding disorders. And molecular genetics of the hemophilia A is mainly due to factor 8 deficiency. Other genetic disorders with low factor 8 levels are mainly the von Willebrand disease type 2 and the combined deficiency of factor 5 and 8. And hemophilia is mainly due to the factor 9 deficiency. Hemophilia A is mainly affected factor 8 in the intrinsic pathway, so it will increase the APTT level. And coming to the hemophilia A, the incidence was 1 is 5,000 for 10,000 in males, and mainly it produces hemarthrosis, post-traumatic and post-surgical bleeding, and severity is related to the factor 8 level, and 5 to 15% is mild, 1 to 5% is moderate, less than 1% factor 8 level is considered as a severe level. Inhibitors to the factor 8 is developed in 10 to 20% of the severe patients. Coming to symptoms, primarily bruising and bleeding, and minor bleeds, especially in the early joints and muscle bleeding in the mouth and gums, and epistaxis will occur, and hematuria will occur. And major bleeds mainly the CNS and the severe injury, neck, throat, eyes, GIT, hip, iliopsoas muscle, late joint and muscle, testicles, and the retroperitoneum will produce the major bleeding. Coming to divided into 3 types: mild, moderate, and severe, depending on the factors level. So mild hemophilia, mainly the factors levels is between the 5 to 50%. Usually bleed after injury or surgery only. Especially is present in the carriers of the hemophilia. Moderate hemophilia present as a factors level 2 to 5% only. Bleed about 1 month usually after the trauma, surgery, exertion. Once the bleeding history is established in this area, they will have spontaneous bleeding episodes in those areas. And the severe hemophilia, the factors level is less than 1%, bleed very easily without trauma, with minor trauma, without sometimes the spontaneous bleeding will occur. And genetic diagnosis of hemophilia, and the prenatal diagnosis by the genetic consultation, chorionic villus sampling, amniocentesis, cord blood sampling, and screening for the mutation in the intron 222 inversion, and mutation screening, and linkage analysis is informative in more than 90% of the families, but it will require the other family members also. So potential for incorrect diagnosis will lead to linkage analysis. And coming to the hemophilia B, is less than 25% of the hemophilia. Incidence was 1 is to 35,000 males. And phenotype being distinguished from the hemophilia A. Severity is related to the factor 9 level. And hemophilia B, Leiden, is a severe hemophilia children and dramatic improvement at the puberty. And coming to the treatment to the hemophilia, as 1950s, there's a basic understanding of the coagulation was started, and in 1960 itself started the glioprecipitate, and 1990 we started the non-plasma recombinant DNA concentrate was started, and more sensitive viral marker screening test was started, and 2000 onwards the genetic was started. And Graham Wood was discovered factor 8 rich glioprecipitate. The goal in the hemophilia care is mainly the prevention, education, prophylaxis, physical fitness with injuries avoidance, and self-treatment, especially the patient itself, prevention, emergency self-treatment and everything, and rehabilitation to limit the secondary musculoskeletal and neuro complication once the bleeding subsides. And treatment basics, mainly the infusion of the concentrated factor VIII level. 80% of the patients do it at the home itself, and do not 100% achievement is not necessary. We maintain 50% to 100% factors level, and vasopressin IV or nasal use in mild hemophilia cases will release the factor VIII from the endothelial cells, will double or triple the plasma levels of the factor VIII level. And coming to the recombinant factors factor VIII level also, and particularly these patients should avoid the particular drugs, especially the aspirin, heparin, warfarin, and the NSAID should be avoided in these patients. And the hemophilia is ideal disease for the gene therapy also. Just a small increase in the factors levels will great benefits in this patient. Rise factors level 2% will prevent spontaneous hemorrhage in the joints, brain, and other organs. And level greater than 20 to 30% will prevent the bleeding in most of the injuries. Coming to the review of literatures, and first literature was shown in 1997, and they report hemophilia patient with compartment syndrome with hemophilia. They reported 2 cases. After 70 years later, reported 4 cases of hemophilia with VIC. They reported acute compartment syndrome in hemophilia 4 cases. Coming to the recent article, spontaneous forum compartment syndrome in boy with hemophilia and therapeutic dilemma. The same presentation, a 17-year-old boy came to emergency with spontaneous bleeding. They did emergency fasciotomy and they transfused cryoprecipitate and the FFB and everything. They treated multi-specialty care. So coming to the acute compartment syndrome is a surgical emergency. Irreversible tissue injuries begin around the 6 hours after the answer, and the failure to intervene may lead to necrosis and functional impairment, deformity, and renal failure. So trauma is the most common etiology. Will produce hemorrhage and edema. Will elevate the compartment pressure. So normal pressure is 5 to 7. And common symptoms 5P and pain, paresthesia, pallor, paralysis, and pulse testness and pressure. And vigorous physical activity and IV drug use and anticoagulation therapy, they are also that aggravating factor for compartment syndrome. And bleeding disorders with the VIC, that factor VIII, hemophilia is most common congenital coagulopathy associated with open ischemic contracture. And the clinical symptoms related to intractable bleeding can result from the even slight provocation or minor trauma will produce the VIC in the hemophilia patient, will produce large spontaneous hematoma and ecchymosis. It's a high risk for iatrogenic bleeding after IM injection or arterial cannulation and venipuncture and anticoagulation therapies. So management is fasciotomy is a gold standard one, and the hematology should consult the early to evaluate the coagulopathy and monitor the factors level. And author from Niranja, the recommended pre and post-operative factors VIII level should be maintained 50% to 100% to minimize the blood loss in post-operative period. So coming to tunicate, tunicate are not universally favored in general population, but should be available for additional hemostatic control in these patients. And ultrasound is useful for evaluating blood flow and the collection and the swelling evaluation. And coming to take home message is a history of minor trauma or spontaneous hemorrhage, spontaneous VIC should consider the bleeding disorders and need multi-specialty have timely surgical decompression. They can expect satisfactory recovery of muscular and neurological function.